Hi, welcome back, everybody. Are there any more speakers on this motion before us? Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to just take us back to what the motion actually says. It says that the Schrinner Council rules out cuts to council's public transport subsidy and continues to increase our funding of public transport services. Now, Mr. Chair, that's quite relevant and important that we are discussing that motion today. When we reflect back on the number of ferries that were actually in operation when the ALP left office in 2004, it was a sum total of 9. Today, we have 22 ferries operating in our city of Brisbane.
We introduced the ferries.
We are focused on increasing public transport for people who live in our city and for people who visit our city. And that is why we have been focused the entire time on delivering the infrastructure and the improvements to public transport services. Now, I go back as well to the early days when I was first elected, and we built the Willawong Bus Depot, a $69 million investment to ensure that our buses were running out in our suburbs. Now, we've heard from the other side all the mendacious diatribe that they can come up with tonight. And what we've heard from their debate is not really debate, it's all smears and no ideas. They are bereft of any idea of how to improve public transport systems, and all they want to do is scaremonger. Now, they make these blatant claims that things are done in secret. Well, I'm sorry, when we go out and publicly consult, as we have done, and give the residents of this city an opportunity to have a say, that is not hiding anything. It is about putting it out there in black and white on council's website, inviting people to partake in the consultation and making sure that residents have that opportunity. Now, we've heard time and time again the invective hyperbole from the Leader of the Opposition and his claims of cuts. Well, sorry, they're wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. When we had the last bus review, residents in my ward benefited from additional services. And since that review, we have had extensions to the 803 bus services, not once, but twice. I am working with TransLink. I am working with council officers. We are presenting the argument of why there is need, and that is because there is growth out in that area. Now, similarly, that applies to different areas where we need to address other reviews, such as the ferry review. And I just think that the Leader of the Opposition doesn't really understand the whole concept of what we do for public transport here in Brisbane. We are unlike any other council across Queensland and predominantly across Australia. We are the ones that fully air-conditioned our bus fleet. We are the ones that made sure that our residents have bus services. And I can remember being at Willawong the day the 1,000th bus was actually launched, and it's still getting around my ward. And can I say that we have not only surpassed that by 100, passed it by 200,
Objections, please.
but we're over 1,250 buses in our fleet. Now, you only have to look at the last bus review as well. The 460 bus that goes through my ward and went through the then Richlands ward at the time, the 460 route actually got an increase in its services. And that was because of the connectivity to the Richlands train station. So there goes Councillor Strunk's argument. But I think when we need to come back to is that when we have suburban growth, when we have more people coming into our city, when we have our city going through a metamorphosis and becoming a global city, as it has done over the time that we have had administration, you need to move with the times. You need to address the growth. But that is something that the argument of those on the opposite side seems to be that they're devoid of that concept. They really, really are. Now, just because we're having a review doesn't mean to say it's a precursor to any specific outcome. We are looking at what concerns people. We are taking that feedback into consideration. We are assessing the needs of people, and we are trying to endeavour to ensure routes go where people need them and where people will utilise them. And I know I've even had an email today from a new resident who's just moved into Pollara, who is asking for more bus services. People genuinely want to use public transport in our city, and it is our responsibility to be that voice for them and to endeavour to work with TransLink to make sure we're identifying where the need is and what we can do to improve it. Now, that is specific to what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ferry review, and there is no point in just making an arbitrary decision. We need to consult with people because people are moving. They are not staying in one house for their entire lives. They are moving around the city. They are choosing to move when they want to downsize, when they get a little bit older and retire. And some of those people are moving into the city and don't want to drive a car anymore. So yes, there is a need for looking at alternatives like ferries and buses. We have students who need to get to different locations, whether it be for study, for entertainment, or for school purposes. So we need to be addressing it. But what do we hear from those on the other side? We hear outbursts. We hear claims of conspiracy theories, but that is not what is happening. That's what they'd like to fool people into thinking is happening. But I'm sorry, the facts speak for themselves. The facts are that when we do reviews, we go out for consultation. The first round of consultation on this latest review closed on the 30th of July. And we are about to go out on the second round of consultation, which will commence on the 30th of August and conclude on the 17th of September. So if other councillors are genuine in making sure people's voices are heard, then encourage your constituents to partake in that consultation. Share the information properly. Don't scaremonger. Give people the opportunity to have their say. And don't carry on with all smears and no ideas. You can't just go out there and make these comments and say that this is what is going to happen, because we are waiting to assess what the residents say. And until such time as we have completed that community consultation, there is no foregone conclusion. And that is where the argument of those on the opposite side—
Is that like the Bowls Club?
No interjections, please.
That's where the arguments of those on the other side falls into the ether. It just goes into the stratosphere because they've got no substance to it. They just like to make these comments, and it's like believing that there's fairies in the bottom of the garden. But we're not talking about fairies or fairy tales. We're talking about ferries and buses. And these are important because these are our real public transport services. We are providing a top-class bus fleet. It is an air-conditioned fleet. We've done a fleet that is surpassing any other fleet in the entire country. We've brought our buses into the technological age by putting USB charging points in, by making sure we have CCTV to ensure people have the safe means of transport. We have brought the disability sector on board with us by ensuring they have the capacity to travel in comfort. It is not about playing the politics of envy. This is about delivering real public transport outcomes for the people of our city. Putting
Councillor
our
Owen,
city in a
your
good
time has expired. Thank you. Are there any other speakers? I see no hands being raised. We can now vote on this motion. All those who are supporting this motion, please say aye and raise your hands.
Aye.
Those voting against, please say no and raise your hands.
No.
Are there
Sorry. The camera was, yeah.
a late breaking no? And are there any abstentions? I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, councillors. We move on to the next motion, which was before us, which was posted by Councillor Griffiths. Councillor Griffiths, would you like to repeat your motion to aid and abet the council's recall, and then you have time to complete your speech. Councillor Griffiths.
Yes, sorry, I'll just turn that back on. Yep, there we go. Yes, the motion was that this council opposes the sale, the demolition, or the private development of the Brisbane City Council-owned Maruka Bowls Club site and commits to restoring this facility.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. So,
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. You had started that previously. You have 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's been an interesting night tonight watching or listening to these debates and the way the LNP are amending our motions. And I look forward to, or I'll be interested in how they amend this motion because it's very clear what it's asking. This has come about from a call that I've been making over the last 2 years. And we've just had a petition completed where over 800 residents have signed saying that council should be maintaining a council facility. I know that's crazy. I know that's illogical, but residents actually believe, and I believe, council should be maintaining, looking after, maintaining all our facilities to the same standard across the city. They actually do that in other councils around us. We don't do it. We have this hit and miss approach where we do it for some facilities, more so for facilities in LNP wards, and we're constantly patching up facilities and throwing scant amount of resources at our community facilities. And we want the residents to feel grateful to us that we've done that. I know with this bowls club, it's dilapidated, it's empty, it's been overgrown, the roof's leaking, there's rotten floors, there's an unusable kitchen, there's issues with gas pipes, it's inaccessible and it's run down. And it's been that way for 2 years. And repeatedly, I've asked this administration to look at this and to do something about it. And the answer has been no. Oh, it has asbestos as well. So the administration put it out for tender. There are 11 groups who bid for this facility. There's a big demand for community facilities. A number of those groups dropped out because they weren't prepared to take on the condition of that bowls club. And this is a bowls club. And this is the irony when I listen to the Deputy Mayor and the Mayor talk about the Olympics. We can't maintain a facility left over from the Commonwealth Games, and we're talking about going forward with the Olympic Games. It's the most ironical thing I hear, and I just want to bring the media in and show them this bowls club and show them the way this LNP administration are treating our facilities and our facilities that were part of international games. One group, and there was one group that I supported, a local group that is keen to take on this facility. They're a local not-for-profit group called Third Space. They've actually been trying to get insurance to take it on. 8 insurance agencies have rejected them because they count this facility as an abandoned building. They've managed to find one now. That group has lots of enthusiasm. I know the chairperson knows the group. They have lots of energy. I know that they've approached the chairperson, but they have no money. Now, I'm giving a little bit of money out of my LMSIF, but it is nothing on the $600,000 to $800,000 they need to raise to maintain that facility. And I think it's bizarre that we're putting a community group that has no money out there to raise $600,000 to $800,000 to bring a facility that we, Brisbane City Council, own up to scratch. Now, that's unlike the Sunnybank Bowls Club that in the last 2 years have received, how much have they received? That Bowls Club was going to fund
Millions.
$2 million. So that Bowls Club, just like that, like magic, has received $2 million. And that came about, there was a campaign locally leading up to the last election done by a local Labor candidate. And suddenly, what do you know? The LNP finds $2 million to bring that facility up to scratch. I have to say, I'm just appalled at and I keep hearing it over and over again. We see what they say and then we see what they deliver. And they're a world apart. And what I've seen with local deliveries around my community is that either they're being sold off for high rise, and remember in 2019, the East Brisbane's Bowls Club, we wanted to sell that off. This LNP wanted to sell that off. And it was only because, and they tried to sneak it through Christmas time, it was only because there was a huge stink that they actually backed down on that. They're going to put a high rise there with development and maybe the Bowls Club beside it. And then we've seen the Tarragindi Bowls Club out my way. That one is now becoming a high rise. And that charge was led by Councillor Adams. Proudly led by Councillor Adams. I know I was at many of those debates, many of those contests with the community. And it's interesting, Councillor Adams calls them the lynch mob. You know, they were people trying to defend the facility that we're going to demolish. So we put out for consultation. 2,000 people signed to say they don't want it demolished. I have to say my concern is it's in worse condition. Maruka Bowls Club is in worse condition than this one that the LNP want to demolish. You know, it's actually more dilapidated and we haven't got tenants. So it worries me that they want to demolish that one there to create park space. A couple of years ago, they wanted to demolish it so they could build a high-rise full of condominiums. There is a set agenda here by the LNP that is not supportive of community facilities. And we're seeing that across Brisbane. They're shoddy, they're in a poor state, and they're missing out. And if anyone wants to see, just come out to my ward and I'll take you for a tour on some of those facilities, including the Lord Mayor, who never steps in my ward, never steps in my electorate. He's like a ghost. Come out and see what facilities are like. You know, I'm really scared and concerned that this Lord Mayor and the LNP councillors don't have an understanding of what's going on with community facilities out there. They don't have an understanding of residents' needs. I think it's really sad and cynical when I hear them talk about, we're going to lift all the kids up across the city with better sporting facilities when they're not going down the track to solve that problem. And this facility is a prime example of how the LNP, how this Lord Mayor, how these councillors have been so pathetically treating the people in my electorate and treating the condition of this facility that was a Commonwealth Games facility that the people of Brisbane are really proud of. And at the moment, that is just struggling, empty and neglected. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I entered the debate.
And here we have, through you, Mr. Chair, yet another case of Labor starting a scare campaign and trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. The Schrinner Council has never entertained any ideas to demolish, sell or develop the Maruka Bowls Club. We never have and we never will. We're not selling it, we're not demolishing it, and we're not handing it over to private developers. And through you, Chair, Councillor Griffith, you mentioned Taringa Bowls Club. That's a privately owned bowls club, not a council facility. We've invested more than 100,000. Tarragindi Bowls Club.
Tarragindi Bowls Club.
Yeah, privately owned, not a council facility, not a council facility. I have to say it more than once because it doesn't seem to register unless I
It's
do
on
that.
sport and recreation
Where-
land. It is a
It is-
facility,
through you-
a facility
through you.
on sports and recreation land.
Mr. Chair, I would like to finish my comments. I let Councillor Griffith speak without interruption and he can't show me the same courtesy.
That's right. Please, Councillor Howard, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr.
Tell
Chair.
the truth.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask that Councillor Griffith withdraws that statement. I always tell the truth. I call on you to ask him to withdraw that
untrue.
statement.
That's not true.
No, I'm not withdrawing it.
Please continue, Councillor Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will say it one more time because it doesn't matter how many times the LNP councillors say this in this chamber, those on the other side just do not get it. Tarragindi Bowls Club is a privately owned bowls club, not a council facility. Moving on, we've invested more than $100,000 improving the Maruka Bowls Club, and we are about to sign a lease over to a new community organisation. Councillor Griffiths has mentioned that it's a local community, and we're delighted to be working with that community. I know them very, very well. We want to see the Maruka Bowls Club continue to be an important part of the community. And as Councillor Griffiths has known for many months now, we have that organisation who signed up to take over the Bowls Club and transform it into a community hub so that even more locals will be able to enjoy the facility with plans for new family-friendly activities and events, movie nights and barefoot bowls. Chair, as Councillor Griffiths mentioned when putting the motion, an e-petition has been registered relating to the Maruka Bowls Club site, which has gained over 800 signatures. I therefore move that the motion be laid on the table until such time that the petition response to fund renovation of Maruka Bowls Club is considered by the chamber.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Landers. So
God,
Councillor
scared
Howard has
debate.
moved
You
that the
guys
motion
are
lay on the
hopeless.
table and it's been seconded by Councillor Landers. I'll put that
Yeah.
vote to the chamber. All
Guillotine
those in favour
debate.
of the motion laying on the
Guillotine
table,
the debate.
please raise their hands.
Aye.
All opposed?
Guillotining debate again.
Say-
No.
The motion is carried.
Division.
Division.
Division has been called by Councillor Griffiths and Councillor Johnston. Ring the bells.
Cannot even have a debate. Less than half an hour after the dinner break, and it's too hard to have a debate.
They should have lied down and had a Bex.
You guys made everybody pathetic.
Okay. Thank you. There was a motion of dissent. Please rate those who agree with that. Please raise your hands.
Can we confirm, Mr. Chair, a motion for division, not dissent?
Oh, sorry, my correction. That this was for a division. Those who support the division, please raise your hands.
What?
We're supporting the motion. We're supporting the motion.
We've moved dissent.
You moved dissent or
You
moved
moved division.
You moved division.
Oh, did we? Okay, sorry. Okay.
So we're all moving.
Supported.
Supporting
Lay
the motion.
on the table.
This is a very well chaired meeting.
So the motion is that the motion lay on the table. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Opposed, please say no.
No.
The ayes have
No.
it. Are you calling a division?
Which
No, that's
division?
carried.
You've got to read the clerks now need to read the result.
Okay, please read the result.
Mr Chair, the ayes have it, the voting being 16 in favour and 5 against.
The motion is carried to lay this on the table. And with that, councillors, the meeting is closed. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Such